Hello and welcome to BYJU'S IAS. Let's get started and look into the first article. The first article says, lights off event will not harm the grid, says the ministry. What is the context? Prime Minister Narendra Modi recently addressed the country. He requested people to turn off the lights in their home for about 9 minutes on 5th of April 2020, which happens to be today at 9 p.m. Why was this decision taken? The country is witnessing a 21-day nationwide lockdown. This is unprecedented in India. Why? Because this has not been seen in the past. People are forced to stay at home. Punitive laws have been enforced. Doctors, policemen, administrative personnel are overworking to keep you and all of us safe. Few have also witnessed suffocation because of the lockdown, as they feel they are caged within their houses. This exercise by Prime Minister Narendra Modi is intended to keep people's morale high during the lockdown. But there are some apprehensions raised by the electricity department. What is the fears raised by the electricity department? During this process, where there would be a sudden drop in the electricity for about 9 minutes. Why? People would be turning off the lights at their homes. So during this process, lakhs of people turn off the lights simultaneously, and this could lead to collapse of the national power grid. This is the fear and apprehension raised by certain personnel in the electricity department. Why is this complicated? That is because currently, when you look at India's baseload power demand, it is roughly about 160 gigawatts. We have one of the important organizations called as the Power System Operation Corporation Limited. This is the National Load Dispatch Center and operates the national electricity grid. What is the job role of this organization? Let's say in summer we use lot of air conditioners and fans. So what would happen? There would be a sudden surge in the electricity consumption. Now let's go to winter. The ACs or the fans that is required is comparatively less. So the amount of electricity consumption is comparatively less. And who calculates all this? It is this organization. So for a particular day, what this organization checks is the increase in consumption or decrease in consumption, and a prediction is made by this organization. So basically this organization predicts daily demand of power increase or decrease and regulates the power from the power generators based on this prediction and calculation. In order to maintain the grid stability, what we require is maintenance of a frequency range. What is this frequency range? Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you're driving your car at a particular speed and driving up the mountain. So you're maintaining a particular speed. And let's say you're coming down from the mountain. Again, you have to maintain certain speed as well. This speed in normal terms can be equated to frequency in the electricity. So there is a particular speed that you have to maintain and sustain while you climb upwards as well as when you come downwards. Likewise, there is a particular frequency range in the electricity that needs to be maintained. So when there is sudden increase in the frequency, this will lead to increase in the voltage. When there is sudden decrease in the frequency, this will lead to decrease in the voltage. So this stability, this frequency will have to be maintained by the electricity department. So what this organization basically does is, when there is increase for the electricity consumption, it will have to ensure that the speed or the frequency in electricity is maintained within a particular range. So what is the problem right now? During the 9-minute lights out initiative, about 10,000 to 20,000 megawatts of power demand is expected to vanish. So there will be a drop of about 10,000 to 20,000 megawatts, and there will be an increase of about 10,000 to 20,000 megawatts. So what we will see is a massive fluctuation. So this massive fluctuation will have to be kept intact. So there needs to be a balance. So the frequency range will have to be kept intact. So this organization That is, the Power System Corporation Limited has already predicted it, and then it needs to ramp down the electricity supply and ramp up the electricity supply on the basis of this prediction. So what is the major concern here? The major concern is, in case they have not predicted properly, if there is any missteps in handling, this could lead to a high voltage surge, tripping the lines, causing damage to the national grid, and ultimately leading to the collapse of the national power grid. So basically what we will see after this is an extended power outrage. In order to address this, in order to ensure that this outrage or power fluctuation does not happen, certain steps have been taken and certain initiatives have been taken by the Power Ministry. Let's look at some of the statistics. Out of 100%, we require electricity, and this electricity is actually bifurcated for multiple sectors. Let's say out of 100, the domestic load, that is what me, you, all of us use in a house, is about 30 to 32%. And for the industrial units, the manufacturing units and so on, it is about 40%. The agricultural consumption, let's say for example for running of bores, they also require electricity. This is about 20% on a normal day. And the commercial electricity, let's say for example malls in a particular city, they also require electricity. So the commercial electricity is about 8 to 10%. So out of 100%, if you're compartmentalizing it, the domestic load that is currently used is only about 30 to 32%. In this 30 to 30%, only about 30% is again used for electricity consumption in the light sector, which means there is computers, there is washing machine, there is refrigerators, there is air conditioners. What Prime Minister Narendra Modi has requested is turning off of lights. So this includes only 30% in this domestic load sector. This would not have major impact on the grid frequency, is what this article all about. To address this concern, the Power Ministry has said that India might not suffer any failure on the account of mass switching of electricity lights. What is being worked out by the Power Ministry in order to regulate this flow and also to ensure that the frequency range is also maintained? The Power System Corporation Limited and other power grid corporation entered into a video conference recently. They also discussed the same with the state and the regional load dispatch centers, power distribution companies, state government officials, and they were able to strategize how we have to handle this blackout or in case of any eventuality. So what the Power Ministry currently says is the prediction has been made and government officials have been updated. So what they suggest is that there would not be any possibility of power grid failure, is what is the crux of this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article says, how long does SARS-CoV-2 stay potent? Which speaks about how long would the virus be able to survive on different kind of surfaces. In the past 1 month, we have discussed about the coronavirus. We have discussed how it was started off in the Wuhan province in China, how it started spreading from China, how it became an outbreak to an endemic to a pandemic, how it has become a major health crisis across the length and breadth of the world, and we have also discussed the economic catastrophe that it is unleashing. What this article speaks about is with respect to how long the coronavirus would be able to survive on different types of surfaces. We know for the fact that this will usually impact the upper respiratory tract in people. How it is being transmitted from one person to another, how? Through the sneeze or through the cough, or even when a person speaks loudly. So the minute there is this respiratory droplet which falls on the surface, and the person who is not infected, if he happens to touch this surface, then this person who is not infected will also get infected. Now the question is, how long does coronavirus live on different surfaces? Center for Disease Control has said that current evidence suggests that SARS-CoV-2 may remain viable for hours to days on surface made from variety of materials. Let's look into some of these facts. When it comes to aerosols, they would be able to survive for about 3 hours. When it comes to copper, they would be able to survive for about 4 hours. When it comes to living on the surface of cardboard, they would be able to survive for as long as 24 hours, that is 1 day. And when it comes to plastic or the stainless steel, they would be able to stay alive or survive for up to 2 to 3 days, and this happens to be the longest survival for the virus. So this virus, when it is outside, it completely stays inactive because it cannot reproduce without the host, and the minute it comes in contact with the host, which can be an animal or it can be a human, then it starts replicating or reproducing itself. So as long as it is outside, it will not be able to reproduce, and the minute it finds a host in the form of an animal or a human being, that is when it starts multiplying. So what we got to understand is that with respect to the clothes as well. So when it comes to the clothes, studies are not confident how this will have an impact on the clothes that you and I wear. But there is a condition that we have to look at. When it comes to surviving longer, there is these non-porous surfaces where the virus would be able to survive longer. But when it comes to porous surfaces like the clothes, they would not be able to stay longer. That is because these porous surfaces will tend to trap the viruses. So what we need to understand, there has not been much of survey when it comes to clothes or with respect to the fabric, but a general analysis is that these type of viruses would stay longer on non-porous surfaces, which include steel, but they are not able to stay on the porous surfaces like the fabric, and since they are not able to stay, the impact on the clothes is comparatively less. Another suggestion given by the scientists and the medicinal practitioners, in case there are people traveling outside, there could be a possibility of virus getting and settling onto the fabrics. In that particular case, you will have to remove these clothes once you're back home and then wash it with the detergent, and then this virus will be immediately neutralized. So what are some of the measures that we would be able to take to reduce the impact of the coronavirus? One is cleaning the surface very often. In case you see any of the dirty surfaces in and around the region, what we have to ensure is cleaning of this visibly dirty surface. Followed by this, what we have to do is disinfection, and that's the best practice for the prevention of this coronavirus, for which what we require is a 1% hydrochloride solution is an effective disinfectant on various surface. So using of this 1% hydrochloride solution to disinfect the surface is one of the key measures that we will have to take up. Apart from this, as we have previously discussed, following hand hygiene, washing hands frequently with soaps and sanitizers, maintaining physical distance, and all these things will have to be maintained so that the impact of this COVID-19 virus is comparatively reduced. It is this that we have to understand with respect to this article. Now let's look into the next article. This article here is speaking about two important concepts. One is the disease cluster, the other is about the contact tracing. What is this disease cluster? Let's say, for example, there is a region, and this region has lot many people who have been impacted by a particular communicable disease. So there is a region, there is a particular place. So in this region, there are lot number of people who are getting infected. So such place and time within a particular region is what is called as disease cluster. So there is a greater than expected number of cases of a disease that is occurring in a particular area, and that is what is called as disease cluster. So basically all the communicable diseases which spreads from one person to another, and this having an impact within a specific region or an area is what is called as disease cluster. What is the importance of this disease cluster? The minute we are able to identify this disease cluster and the people impacted within this region, we would be able to control the spread of this infection. Let's say, for example, there are about 100 people. These 100 people have recently met up in one of the conferences. So what they do, they come to this conference, but meanwhile, let's say there is a person who has come from Wuhan into this conference. So what this person does, he'll immediately infect all these people because he might have contact, or there might be people who would come in contact with the respiratory droplets. So what happens? all these people who attended the conference, that is nearly 100 people, will get infected. So this infection that is spread in a particular area is what is called as disease cluster. So when there is disease cluster, what we also see is something called as contact tracing. What is this contact tracing? This person who's come from Wuhan does not know he has the infection. So he gets down in the airport. So the minute he gets down in the airport, what he immediately comes in contact is with the car driver. So the car driver does not know that this person has an issue. So he will get infected, and then this person that is coming from Wuhan will also go to the conference. So he'll meet number of people. So whoever this person from Wuhan meets, the driver and those people who are in the conference, so all those people that this person from Wuhan has met, so identifying these contacts is what is called as contact tracing. So basically identifying those people who could have been met by this person traveling from Wuhan is what is called as contact tracing. What are the challenges when it comes to this disease clusters? Let's say, for example, these people in the conferences are infected by the coronavirus. First of all, after this conference, all of them will start moving in different directions. One might go to north of India, south of India, east of India and west of India. So identifying where these participants are is the first key challenge. Now let's say you have identified the person, but now isolating this person is another major challenge. Why? Let's say these people have traveled to East India or they have traveled to the west part of India. What if their contacts are not traceable? What if their phones are switched off? How would you be able to isolate such person? Even if you are isolating, the region to region travel means that he has infected massive number of people. So this disease cluster will have to be identified as soon as possible so that the infection can comparatively be reduced. At the same time, we also have challenges with respect to how this has been organized by the state government. Each state government would be able to come up with its own strategy. Can we have a one-size-fits-all approach? No, because there would be a different possibilities. So identifying again will not have a single protocol, single policy. Again, this is the major challenge as we see in disease clusters. So what this article speaks about is with respect to disease cluster and contact tracing and what are the challenges with respect to the disease cluster. Now let's look into the next article. This article here speaks about Jammu Kashmir parties condemn changes to the domicile laws. What is this domicile laws? What are the changes that have been introduced has been discussed on 2nd of April 2020 under the first topic, Centre defines Jammu Kashmir domicile rules. So kindly look into this video. Now let's look into the next article. This article, bounty from the oil plunge, has been discussed on two different days. One on 10th of March 2020 under the first article and on 13th of March 2020 under the fourth article. So kindly watch these videos to understand what this article is all about. Now let's look into some of the preliminary practice questions. Consider the following statements with respect to Indian Council of Medical Research. The ICMR is funded by the Government of India through the Department of Health Research, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. ICMR is headquartered in New Delhi. ICMR has launched Mera India in order to prioritize, plan and scale up research to eliminate the COVID-19 from India. Which of the above statements are correct? The answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Why? Because this is headquartered in New Delhi. This is right. And it is also funded by the Department of Health Research, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. This is also right. But what is wrong is that this Mera India is not about COVID-19, but this is about controlling the malaria. So this happens to be a wrong option. So the answer to this is 1 and 2 only. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following statements about Indian Meteorological Department. It is an agency of Ministry of Earth Sciences. IND operates hundreds of observation stations across India and Antarctica. Long period average is the average rainfall received by the country as a whole during the southwest monsoon for a 50-year period. Which of the above statements is or correct? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. All the 3 statements that are mentioned here are correct. So it is 1, 2 and 3 for this multiple choice question. Kindly note, the IMD is headquartered in Delhi. So what is this LPA? When you look at Indian Meteorological Department, it basically brands the monsoon as normal or deficient, and the premise on which it bases its argument is on the basis of long period average. So what is this long period average? This is nothing but the average rainfall received by the country as a whole during the southwest monsoon for about 50-year period. So a benchmark of 50-year period is considered, and on this basis is what the IMD brands the monsoon as normal or as deficient. Now let's look into the next practice question. With reference to Asian Waterbird census, which of the following statements is incorrect? It covers the entire East Asian, Australasian flyway and a large part of Central Asian flyway. It monitors on biennial basis the status and condition of wetlands. In India, the AWC is jointly coordinated by Bombay Natural History Society and Wetlands International. Which of the above statements are incorrect? It is asking for the incorrect statement, so the answer is 2 only. Why? Why is this wrong? It is not on biennial basis, but it happens on an annual basis. What is this Asian Waterbird census? The AWC was initiated in the year 1987 in the Indian subcontinent, and since has grown rapidly to cover major region of Asia from Afghanistan eastwards to Japan, Southeast Asia as well as Australasia. The census thus covers the entire East Asian, Australasian flyway and a large part of Central Asian flyway as well. There are 2 important terms that we have to understand. One is, what is a waterbird and what is the importance of wetland to these waterbirds. According to Wetlands International, a waterbird is one which entirely depends on the wetland. So these waterbirds are species of birds which live most of their lives in the wetland. So when there is this wetland, if it is good in condition, the waterbird stays in that place. If the waterbird does not live in that particular wetland, it means the wetland has been deteriorated. So what this waterbird denotes is the health of the wetland. This wetland provides an ideal platform for feeding, resting as well as roosting of the birds as well. How does this AWC works? It has a large number of volunteers. They have taken the responsibility to identify the population of waterbirds in and around this particular region. So every year on an annual basis in the month of January, thousands of volunteers across Asia and Australasia visit the wetlands in their own country and count the waterbirds. So this information is given to the government, it is given to the NGOs, and they take care of the conservation of these waterbirds. So what are the objectives of this? The objectives of this AWC is to obtain information on an annual basis of the waterbird populations in the region during the non-breeding period of most species as a basis for evaluation of sites and for monitoring of populations. And what it also does, it encourages greater interest in waterbirds as well as the wetlands amongst the citizens. So what is the significance of it? The significance is there is conservation that is taken up by the government as well as by the NGO, and at the same time there would be awareness that will be given to all the people in and around that region. Now let's look into the next practice question. Kuril Islands is a dispute between Japan and Russia. Let's look into the map for the same. So where is this Kuril Island? It is part of this particular region, and this is a dispute between both Japan as well as Russia. Now let's look into the next practice question. Consider the following crops: cotton, groundnut, rice, wheat. Which of these are Kharif crops? The answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Now let's look into the explanation. The Kharif crops here are ragi, cotton, bajra, tudal, maize as well as jowar. How do we remember this code in case it is asked in the preliminary examination? For all you cricket lovers, we have a beautiful code that we can remember it with. So what we have is RCB here, and this is followed by RCB team, and the ambassador for RCB team is Michael Jackson. In case you are able to remember this code, RCB TMJ, that is RCB team, and whose ambassador is Michael Jackson. Anything that comes up, you would be able to answer. So only these are the Kharif crops. Rest that pops up might be the Rabi crops. So wheat is a Rabi crop, so it is taken out. So the answer to this is 1, 2 and 3. Why have we taken this practice question? Because of the reference given under this article. Now let's look into the mains practice question. Today you may have to write 2 important essays. What are these? 1. Transition from unipolar world to a multipolar international system. The other is tough times never last but tough people do. So please write all your answers on the comment section so that you guys can have a peer review and also come up with constructive criticism in case of any. So this is it for today. Thank you for watching. All the best.